Hey guys, it's Trevor back with Streamers Become Human. This video is gonna be a little different. Tomorrow, December 18th, marks the release of the Monster Hunter movie. And since I'm a huge Monster Hunter fan, I thought I'd go through and rate all of the monsters in Monster Hunter World. The ratings I'll be doing on S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, and D tier. And then I'll make a few comments on the monsters and why I give them that rating. So to kick it off, we have Great Jagras. Great Jagras is going to get a C tier from me, just because my first Monster Hunter was Monster Hunter Tri, and Great Jagras seems like a more stripped down version of Royal Ludroth, and he doesn't really do anything special other than swallow whole Apanoths and get really big. So next on the list we have Kulu Yaku. I'm gonna also give this monster a C tier because, like I said, my first Monster Hunter was Tri, and I think Kulu Yaku does not pale in comparison to Kurupeko. I think Kurupeko was a much more interesting design and more of a memorable monster. This monster's only gimmick is to be real annoying when they dig up an egg or a rock. You just bounce off everything. Unless you have Mind's Eye. So yeah, C tier. Puke. I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a B tier, just because I think it's more memorable than the first two monsters we saw. And it's the first one that has like a actual status or ailment to it, which is poison. And all in all, it's just a basic bird wyvern with poison. Really not much more to say about it. Next we have Baroth, which I think I'm gonna give a B tier as well. Maybe it's because I've seen him in Tri already, but he doesn't really do anything that impressive, in this game at least. In Tri, I liked him more because when you got hit with his mud, you actually got snowman, or mudballed man, as people used to call it back in the day. And you couldn't actually do anything for the duration of the time you were in the mud snowman status. I think stripping it back and making an easier fight where the mud just lands and you trip over it, it kind of takes away some of the gimmicky stuff from Baroth. So that's why he's B tier, not A tier. Gyrotodos. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a C tier because this fight is not super memorable. You fight Gyrotodos once for the story, and then after that you really don't ever need Gyrotodos parts, ever. I can't tell you how many times I've not fought this guy. Like, you can see right here, I only have hunted it 5 times on a character who has, I think, over 500 hours. So yeah, not very memorable. The same gimmicks as Baroth. Mud, it's just, instead of being a Tyrannosaurus based monster, it's like a fish thing. Tobi Kadachi, I'm gonna give an A tier, just because I think it was really cool. It's a flying squirrel kind of, but it's got electricity, it moves really fast, it's unique in the sense of, this is the first time I've seen it. This is the first time I fought it in any game I've played. I'm pretty sure that's because it was introduced in World, but you know, I don't know. I've only played 3 Monster Hunter games. So yeah, overall flying squirrel on, I almost said on fire, that uses electricity, pretty cool. Get your stun resistance, electric. So yeah, dope. A. Anjanath, I'll also give this an A tier, just because it's like a T-Rex that breathes fire, and then it can frill out and have kind of like a Dilophosaurus frill around it. And that's those. I love dinosaurs, so not much more to say about it. Is giant T-Rex breathes fire, has you know, wings on its leg, frills up. Super dope. Alright, next we have, I don't know, a basic monster, I guess. Raytheon. I'm gonna give this one probably a C tier, just because I know there are 2 other versions on this list of Raytheon. And this one doesn't really do anything special. This is just your basic bitch cut of the monster. Does poison, that's about it. Really easy to abuse if you know how to. Flash pot it. Moveset is super easy to learn. So yeah. Zitsuyaku, I'm gonna give a C tier as well, just because I personally preferred the Great Baggy from Try as opposed to Zitsuyaku. Zitsuyaku is literally nullified in 1 skill called Stun Resist. If you put that on, you don't ever have to use whatchamacallit. And you might be asking, well, can you nullify Great Baggy with anti-sleep? And yes, you could have, but the difference between Great Baggy and Zitsuyaku is that Zitsuyaku walks alone. Great Baggy always has a pack of baggies with them. So that small element makes it better to me than Zitsuyaku. Pulumu, I'm gonna give a C tier just because this monster, for a monster being introduced at the Coral Highland region, which is I think the 3rd environment you meet, or you end up going to, is kind of weak. So yeah, it doesn't really do anything super damaging. It's just a cute like fluff ball that flies around, and you can pop it and it like whizzes across the screen like a cartoon when you pop a balloon. So yeah, that's really its only gimmick. I don't think it's all that special. Great Gyros, I'm going to give a D tier because Great Gyros is not a monster that is a fight that people enjoy to fight. Like, no one's like sitting there going, man, you know what's a really fun fight? Let's go fight Great Gyros. Great Gyros suffers from the problem that Great Jaggy did, which is being super basic and only having hordes of monsters around it, those being the small Gyros. It does have paralysis, but again, you can gem that out, you know, use a charm, whatever, or just don't get hit forehead. Yeah, it really doesn't sell the monster. Like, the description I gave this monster when I first saw it was that a snake inbred with a lizard, and that's what happened. So it's a monstrosity, so that's why it's got a D tier. Moving on, we have Radamon, which is so this one might get shafted from the fact that I've played Try before. I'm gonna give this a solid C tier just because it's basically a reskin of Uragon. It does have its unique bone, like, shard things it collects on its body, but ultimately, if you know how to fight Uragon, you can fight this monster and have no problem. I know the first time I ran through this game, I saw this and I was like, this is just a subspecies of Uragon, and it turns out it's not, but to me it just felt like a weaker Uragon, and I thought that was kind of lame. So C tier it is, because I think they could have done more, they could have done better. Legiana is going to be quite polarizing for a lot of people, because I know a lot of people hate it or love it. I'm going to give this an A tier, just because it's one of the only monsters that does ice in the base game of Monster Hunter World. It might be the only monster that does ice, actually, but I love the design and everything. The only reason I'm giving it an A tier is because the fight is kind of annoying. It's constantly flying, and since they nerfed flash pods, it kind of makes it less easy to control the flight. And I hate how you essentially need to abuse the Clutch Claw to get this monster to land. I think the Clutch Claw in this game kind of like made it like a crutch where people had to rely on it too much to do stuff with it. I prefer older games that didn't have Clutch Claws, that, you know, you just straight up fight, don't have to worry about some fancy gadget that's like Oh, in 10 seconds I'll be able to stun it. Oh, in 10 seconds I'll be able to ram it against the wall. Oh, in 10 seconds I'll be able to throw it out of the sky. It's like, alright, I don't, like, stop. Just make it the core Monster Hunter. It's fine. But yeah, so that's the only reason. And it's constantly screaming, which is real annoying. Next we have Oda-Garen. Oda-Garen is also going to get an A tier, just because I think it's pretty cool. I think it's the only monster in base world that does bleed. I might be wrong. Yeah, no, I don't. I think it's the only one that does bleed in base world. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. The first time I fought this monster, I thought it'd be safe, you know, being far away from it. Turns out you're not fucking safe, because it eats at you from across the map. And overall, I think it's a good design. It's like a really muscular looking, I don't know, like a panther or something, tiger, and it has bleed. So yeah, A tier. Then we have Rathalos, which is gonna get a C tier like Raytheon, because it's, again, basic, doesn't really do much. Once you learn honestly, once you learn Raytheon's fight, you can pretty much beat Rathalos no problem. And then once you learn Raytheon and Rathalos, you can take down their counterparts pretty much no problem. So yeah, C tier, because it's pretty basic, but I think that's just the problem of it being a monster from, like, I think the OG Monster Hunter. Diablos is actually going to get a B tier, just because this is a monster I struggled with and try a lot. And I think that was just because I didn't know how to fight it, but now that I know how to fight it, it's kind of easy. Like, I used to dread fighting this monster, and in this game, I think it's easier, just because in general this game is easier. But yeah, I like the concept, the gimmick, dig underground. It uses sonic. It's kind of like that movie Tremors, with I think Kevin Bacon was in that, where he digs underground, and then I think he listens for the sonic vibrations of, like, you running or something, and knows where you are because of it. So I thought it was pretty cool. Deals a lot of damage, so you gotta be, like, I think this is the first skill check in the game if you're new and haven't played Monster Hunter before. I knew when I played on Try, I got stuck at Baroth first, and then Diablos was a nightmare. So yeah, B tier. Kieran, so this is the first time I fought Kieran, was in this game, and the first time it was fine, but Tempered Kieran, man, I remember struggling so much on that fight. But now it's not that bad, as long as you know how to fight it. I think it was cool what they were trying to do, but I don't think this should be counted as an Elder Dragon, because it's really not. It's a unicorn. That's just like a nitpick thing of mine. So I guess C tier, because it is annoying, but once you learn what you're doing and how you can avoid getting paralyzed, and, like, by this point in the game, you should know how to not get stunned and, like, get out of stun really quickly if you do. So that takes the one gimmick away, and yeah, C tier. I don't think any of the Kieran armor is, like, super useful. Well, for the weapons I use anyway, I use longsword, switch axe, and charge blade mainly. And occasionally bow, but I mean, I've used everything, but I main those 4 weapons. So yeah, to me, it's the weapons that correlate with armor. You don't ever see Kieran armor. So to give this monster a rating, I think C tier. Zora Magdaros, I'm gonna give a D tier, just because I thought the fight was extremely boring. This monster is garbage compared to Jen Moran from Try, and even Sadeas, honestly. This fight, Zora Magdaros, is literally just a waiting screen. Like, once you know what you're doing, and even if you don't know what you're doing, as long as you hit the magma cores, you're essentially waiting on the back of Zora Magdaros for 5 minutes for it to crawl across the fucking giant arena to crash down some gate. So yeah, this fight really boring. Okay, Dodogama, I'm giving an A tier, just because Dodogama's best boy. Won't attack you. It's not aggressive. Eats rocks. Not much else to say. It's adorable. It's great. It's never attacking you. It's abused by other monsters, which is big Sag. But yeah, A tier. Okay, Pink Raytheon, B tier, just because it's a slightly harder Raytheon fight. It does the exact same thing as Raytheon, but it's just slightly harder. Still basic. Basilgoose, or, you know, what I like to call it, the B-52 Bomber. I think this is a great fight. It's the Joe of this world. So I'm going to give it an A tier. The only reason I'm giving it an A tier is because there were so many moments when I was playing this game where I was like, man, I'm almost done with this, and then fucking Basil goes out of nowhere, just yeet in, and be like, well, now you're going to fail this quest. Of course, that was when I started, so it's not that big of a deal now. But yeah, A tier. I like the design. I like it being the new Joe instead of, you know, bursting on the ground. It's just like, and flies in. I also like the explosives, that when it throws its tail to attack you, it can drop them and like fly over like bombs. It's basically a giant airplane. Okay, Devil Joe. This was added in the first month, I think, of the free DLC. Devil Joe is also going to get an A tier just because it's a classic monster that shows up whenever you don't want it to, when you're fighting something else, and it's constantly interrupting. Pretty much all the same reasons as Basil, except for the explosion stuff. This one uses dragon, and it's just the giant pickle. That's the monster. Lava Sioth. What the fuck did I give Gyrototus? I think I gave it a C tier, D tier. Gonna give the same thing to Lavasiath, because again, it's the same problem. This fight's not memorable. No one cares. No one needs Lavasiath armor. No one's like, hey, you know what we should fight? That's really fun. Lavasiath. Unless you're doing that one event quest that gives you all the gems. But even then, it's just like, it's the only time you'll need to fight this guy. I think another problem with this is that I know Ignactor, and I think Ignactor is really cool as a monster. So going from Ignactor and then going to Lavasiath, I'm just like, why couldn't we just have Ignactor? That would have been so much cooler. Uragon. So what did I give Radobon? I think I gave Radobon a C, or yeah, I think I gave it a C. So I'm gonna give Uragon a B tier just because it has the explosions, it has sleep, and it has fire it can exhale from its body. Not to mention you can mine its back. Although, to be fair, I think you can mine Radobon's back. I'm not 100% sure on that, but if you can, that's just something you forget because you don't fight Radobon ever. But yeah, B tier because it's more unique than Uragon, or Radobon. I actually feel like the monsters, as you move on in the series, the newer ones become less and less unique than the ones before. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but that's my takeaway from doing this tier list in the middle of, you know, doing the tier list. Azure Rastos gets B tier, same reasons as Pink Raytheon, because it's the same thing, it's just blue instead of red. Doesn't really do anything different, has like 1 or 2 new moves, that's about it. Learn it, you'll be fine. Black Diablos, I think I give regular Diablos a B tier, so I guess this will get A minus, B plus, just because it's not doing anything different. It's just a black version of Diablos. It's more aggressive, so I guess I'll give it an A just because it's even more aggressive than Diablos. If you thought Diablos was aggressive, this one's more aggressive. So it's a constant adrenaline rush of a fight. You have to constantly be on your toes. So yeah, I guess A tier. Nergigante was a monster who I didn't ever want to try to say ever because I was afraid I'd slip up and say something that would get me banned. But yeah, this Elder Dragon is a really fun fight. I love it. It's really aggressive. I like the concept of having to break its thorns off to deal damage to it, and then when it hardened the thorns, it was pretty much unbreakable unless you're using like Mind's Eye and had hella damage with like a hammer or something. I like the flying yeet attack from it that breaks all the horns off. I really enjoyed this fight. I know it says I only fought it twice, but this is my second character. On my first character, I've fought it way more. But yeah, I'm gonna give this Elder Dragon an S tier, just because it's a new monster to this game, and it's refreshing. It does bleed, and the concept of it is really cool. Teostra. I'm gonna give this fight. I'm bordering between A and B. Let's say A minus B plus. Because this fight is like not difficult. Like he has the supernova, but if you know how to stop that with either a flash pod or like the clutch claw, you really don't have to look out for anything. This just becomes a giant like damage sponge. You just gotta keep attacking it until it dies, which is the concept of the entire game. But still, for this specific monster or Elder Dragon, it's like there's nothing like special about it. Like the design is cool, I guess, because it's like a lion that does fire. So I guess I can give it an A tier for that. But design alone, A tier. Gimmicks of the fight, B or C tier. Lunastra, I'm gonna give a D tier because this monster's trash. This is not a fun fight. Fucking hate this monster. The fucking aura it emits to light up the arena, so you're constantly taking tick damage. The fact that when you flash pot it, it doesn't fall. It takes the time to land and then you get confused. I think is stupid. Just overall, this fight I think is annoying as shit. Not to mention when you fight them both at the same time, now that stupid supernova thing. That alone is that okay. I will admit that that's a cool concept. Like when you have two different monsters that do something with each other, I think it's dope. But this fight alone is trash. I fucking hate this monster. D tier. Kushala Deora, I'm also going to give a fucking D tier too. Design, it's cool. Like, look-wise, it's cool. Fighting it itself, fucking terrible. You have 1 resistance, you need that shit at 5. And even then, it doesn't matter because you still take tick damage from being in the tornado. This thing never lands, like I mentioned before. They nerfed flash pods, so you can't fucking just flash out of the sky. This is just building up the problem I have with Monster World and the Clutch Claw, which is it makes you rely on the Clutch Claw more than it does, like, you know, just fighting stuff. So yeah, D tier. Design wise, it's cool. I think A tier for design, but in general, like fighting and the whole fight process and everything else, D tier. Valvazak, I'm gonna give an S tier. This is also an original monster, which I think is really fucking cool. It's like the Grim Reaper of Elder Dragons, kind of. It sucks the life force out of all the other monsters in the area, uses that and charges a giant beam, and goes, I'm firing my laser, and then you either die or you know how to avoid it and survive. Plus, the arena you fight it in, I think is really cool. You can like get the 2 teeth from the skeleton in the Rotten Vale to fall and like trip this guy. This guy is a pushover kind of a fight, especially if you gem in Fluvia resistance. But I still like the design, fight, and everything. It's not annoying like Lunastra and Kushala. Cool Taroth. So this fight to me is kind of stupid because I hate siege fights. I think the only siege fight I enjoyed was Gen Moran. And that was just because you were basically a pirate, you were going through, and then if you fell off, you'd hook onto the ship, and then like you'd have to climb back. I think that was just a really cool concept for a fight. And then it eventually stopped, and you had to like wail on it until it died. This is just a giant chase. If you're doing, I think, the low rank one or whatever, it's just a giant chase, and then you get to the end, and you can either kill it or come back, and I don't know, it's not really anything special. So I'm going to give this a C tier just because it's basic. They could have done more with it. Xenojiva, I'm going to give a C tier. Don't really care for this fight. Think it's cool that it's a new monster and it's like it was just born. But that also means you're murdering a baby. So that's kind of fucked up. But yeah, this fight's not fun. It's just a damage sponge until you do X amount of damage or kill it. Or no, I think you have to kill it. Yeah, I think you have to kill it. Yeah, it's another dragon, so you have to kill it. I don't think you can repel it. So yeah, I don't know, it's just a boring fight. There's nothing like special about it. It has like one gimmick, I think, which is like it pushes into the ground and it explodes everything. And that's about it. Now we move on to Iceborne stuff and like DLC stuff. Beartodos. I'm actually gonna give this a higher tier than Gyrotodos and Lavasios, which I think I put at C. I'm gonna give this a B tier just because they saw the complaints about Gyrotodos and Lavasios, and I think they tried to change it and make it more interesting of a fight. And I think it was successful because I actually don't mind fighting Beartodos. And plus, it's like an ice shark. It's dope as shit. Like, the Lavasios was, like, okay, but unless you're a Gnactor, you can't really beat being a lava, like, wyvern. So, yeah. I thought this fight was much more entertaining than the other two. So, yeah, B tier instead of C. Banburo. I'm actually going to give Banburo a tier just because I thought it was kind of cool. It was unique. It's the only monster that will try to yeet a tree at you and spin. I know there was another monster that can spin and just non-stop go in circles. I think it's like Hyperboca or something. Or I know there's an older monster that just like spins with its tail and goes non-stop, but I don't remember the name because I've never fought the monster. So yeah, I think this was a unique fight. It's like it's beefy, but it's not super beefy, and it's the like one of the intro monsters to Iceborne, so I think it's pretty cool. Whoa. Viper Tobikadachi. What did I give regular Tobikadachi? I think I would give regular Tobikadachi an A. I think I'm gonna give this a B, and if I gave regular Tobikadachi a B, I'm gonna give this a C, just because. Yeah, it's a subspecies. I'm okay with subspecies, but this one is real fucking annoying. Poison paralysis. It's too much. Don't care. It's too annoying. It's not a fun fight. Nightshade, I'm gonna give a C tier as well as regular Pulumu, because again, it does absolutely nothing different except it has sleep ailments to it. But even then, use Gemma and anti-sleep and you're fine. I think it's slightly more aggressive, but even then, it's still a pushover of a fight. Koro Puki Puki, I'm also going to give a B tier just because it just changes from poison to water. The tail gimmick is really cool, though. Where, like, it's drinking out of the flowers and coral highlands, and then it like sprays butt water everywhere. I thought that was pretty cool, but it doesn't really make it a harder fight. It's like a cool gimmick, but it's not more difficult. Barioth. This is gonna be kind of polarizing because I know what old school Barioth is, meaning I know what old school Barioth is, and when you didn't have to be frame perfect to dodge and avoid his attacks. World burials, so much more hard. So much more difficult than old school burials. Old school burials had reasonable dodge windows and evade timing. This one, you have to be fucking frame perfect to get that shit off. Unless you have like evade 5 on. Or maybe I'm just bad, I don't know. But I think a lot of other people will agree that it's much harder than older burials. I'm still going to give this an S minus A plus rank though, because this is one of the cooler fights. It's basically a saber-toothed tiger that's really aggressive. And it can like summon up blizzards in a single ice attack. So that is pretty dope. And this is, I think this is one of the first monsters that like actually matters when you break parts on it. For those of you who don't know, if you break both wings, or even one wing, it will start stumbling when it jumps and like slides across the map. And I thought that was a really cool touch. Because a lot of times when you break parts on monsters, it really doesn't do anything. I think Anjanath, it might help. When he tries to breathe fire, he'll like stutter for a little bit, but that's not as intense as this one. Nargacuga, I'll give this an A tier, just because this is the first experience I've had with Nargacuga. And it's a cool monster. It's a flying wyvern. It's basically Black Panther. It shoots spikes from its tail. Can run at you. This is really good. This fight is actually really good to learn evade timing and like the window for everything. If I'm being honest with you. But yeah, I think it's just because I like the Black Panthers. They're elegant creatures. This one follows suit. Can shoot stuff from you, so it's not like, oh, you're safe at range. Shoot tendrils at you and you'll bleed because of it. And the scream is super cool. So yeah, A tier. Glavenus. Glavenus is getting an A tier. Because I want to know what evolution process it had to go through in order to get a fucking sword as a tail. It's one of the most dope monsters ever. The only reason I'm giving it an A and not an S is because this fight isn't really that difficult. Design-wise, this is fucking dope. I love the concept of having a monster use a sword as a tail. And not only that, it can heat up the sword by putting it in its mouth and like scraping it. And then it reminds me of the, I think the YouTube channel is called like 1000 Degree Knife. And then he's just like taking a knife that's at 1000 degrees and cutting through shit. That's all this fight reminds me of. Tigrex, I'm gonna give an A tier as well. It's a classic monster. It's the flagship for Freedom Unite, I believe. And it's just a really angry fucking tiger that charges at you. And I'm pretty sure the screams can hurt you. I'm not sure if that's exclusive to Brute T-Rex or both can happen, but yeah. This fight is really cool. It's real aggressive. I really like the adrenaline-filled fights where it's like you got to be constantly on your toes because they're constantly pressuring you. This fight does exactly the good job of what I'm describing. You don't really have downtime unless it's leaving the area. It's aggressive. It's the alpha of most fights. It's Tony the Tiger if he got on steroids or something. Brachydios is also getting an A tier. Because Brachydios is a fucking cool concept of a monster. So, I think all the monsters that came out between the games I stopped and started playing again. So I started playing at Try, then I didn't play again until World, and then I bought GU. So I think in that time frame, from Try to World, were some of the coolest fights they could have come up with. And I was really disappointed because I didn't get to fight any of them, because I didn't own any of those consoles. I almost bought a Wii U just to buy whatever it was, I think it was Try Ultimate or whatever. And then I almost bought a Japanese version of whatever one had Zenogre on the cover. I think it was third. But yeah, this is a really cool fight. It's fun. The gimmick is cool. It's basically a boxing monster, constantly pound. I don't know what I think he's throwing up on his fists, but explosions, basically rocket fist. It's dope. A. Shrieking Leona. I'm actually going to give a B tier. Which you may be asking, why did you give regular Leona an A tier and this one a B tier? Well, because this one really doesn't do anything different. I think it's just more angry. It screams a lot more, which is annoying. And all it has is like a 5 o'clock shadow on it, as opposed to the regular Leona that's, you know, clean cut. So yeah, I think they could have done more with it. Fulgur Anjanath. What did I give regular Anjanath? If I gave regular Anjanath an A, I'm going to give this a B. And if I gave it a B, I'm going to give this a C. Just because, same concept before, it just changes the ailment. It doesn't really do anything different. I think this one's less aggressive than regular Anjanath. So yeah, it's, I don't know, they could have done better. Acidic Glavenus, I'm going to give a B tier. It's not as memorable as regular Glavenus. Like, yeah, it's got the extra acidic property on the channel, but no one really cares. I think the regular fight was cool enough. That's all. I'm going to give Ebony Odegarin an A, just because it's a dragon element monster, and it's basically the same thing as Odegarin, though it's even more aggressive. It's got a different color scheme and a different gimmick to it. It does bleed and dragon now. I think that's pretty cool, and I think it's one of the few monsters that can fight an elder dragon. I think this is only one of the few monsters that can fight Black Veil Hazak and have a turf war with it, which is interesting because I didn't know regular monsters fought elder dragons. Volcana, which is the flagship of Iceborne, I'm guessing. I'm going to give this an S tier. I love Volcana. Volcana, to me, is a fun fight. I think originally because it reminded me so much of Elatron, which is my favorite Elder Dragon. And I learned that Volcana was actually supposed to be a griffin before they turned it into an Elder Dragon. So I thought that was pretty cool. And it also has the thing with Glavenus, where it has a tail that it can use to attack with. It's like a sword, kind of. More like a spear, because it just stabs at you. And when you cut off the tail, it has a really cool animation where it like spins and lands in the floor. So yeah, S tier. And it's elegant. It reminds me of like Blue Eyes White Dragon or something. It's like an elegant monster. Seething Basil Goose. If I gave regular Basil Goose an A, I'm going to give this one an S because it's Basil Goose, but even more fucking intense. This one, the explosions aren't just little bombs. This one, the explosions swell up and explode in a much wider radius. Black Veil Hazak, I'm actually not going to do the route of Basil Goose with this guy. I'm actually going to give this one a B tier. I know I give regular Valhazak an S tier, but this one's getting a B tier because this one is not as cool of a fight as regular Valhazak. This one doesn't really. This one's forgettable, if I'm being honest with you. Like, it does the puff spores, and then it, like, it doesn't really do the whole like draining vampiric enemy or monsters and like taking their energy. It loses a lot of the coolness factors for me. Namiel, I'm gonna give an A tier. I know it says I've only fought it once, but that's on this character. On the other character, I've fought it multiple times. Namiel, I'm gonna give it an A, just because it has cool fight mechanics. Sprays water everywhere. Lightning reacts how it should when being attacked on water. Surges through it, reabsorbs the water, and then reuses it. It's like a giant sponge of electricity and stuff. So I think it's a cool fight. And the monster design is pretty cool. The weapons also look dope. It's got those like lighting effects and like it's all black. And the armor is actually really sick. Savage Devil Joe, I'm gonna give an S tier, I guess, just because it's Devil Joe, but even more fucking intense. That's all I gotta say about this guy. Ruiner Nurg, honestly, I don't know if this gets an S tier. Cause like this doesn't really change the Nurg fight all that much. Like I think it has a couple new moves, but like all in all, if you know how to fight Nurg, you know how to fight this guy. But I don't know. I guess I'll give it an S tier just because it's a cool monster. It's like the savior of Iceborne. It kills the next monster we're about to talk about. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's cool. Yeah, I guess S minus A plus. Shara Isvalda, I'm gonna give I don't know, a B tier, just because I think it's a better fight than Xenojiva, but I still think this fight is kind of stupid. The reason I don't like this fight is because you have to spend like, I don't know, like 10 minutes breaking off the boulders from this, and then you can attack it, and I think the design of this creature actually looks really ugly. Like the face. You can't see it here, because that's not what the picture looks like. This is it in its like shelled form, but the actual face of Shara Isvalda is actually really fucking ugly. So yeah, B tier just because it's a better fight than Xeno, but it's not fun. Zenogre, I'm gonna give an S tier just because, again, it's one of those monsters that I found really cool and unique because I wasn't able to fight it at the time. Because I missed, 8 iterations between Try and World. Lightning Wolf speaks for itself. It's cool. Backflips all the time. It's dope. Yan Garuga, I'm gonna give a B tier just because, again, Bird Wyverns. I think the best Bird Wyvern is still Kurapeka. This one is. It's intense, but it's not like intense in the way that like you want a fight to be intense. Scarred Yangaruga is getting a C tier just because it's less memorable than Yangaruga. And for all those reasons I named in Yangaruga. So yeah, it's not as cool. Brute T-Rex. What did I give regular T-Rex? An A? I think this one's gonna get a A as well, just because it's the nice adrenaline fight I was looking for. And the screams can damage you this time. And there's something slightly different about it that takes away what I liked about T-Rex, but also adds some stuff that I wish T-Rex had. So it's an even trade, so that's why it's not getting an S as opposed to an A. Or that's why it's getting an A as opposed to an S. Because it gives in trans some concepts I like from T-Rex, but takes away some concepts I like about normal T-Rex. Gold Raytheon. It's getting an... What did I give? I gave it C, so I gave it a B. This is getting an A tier just because it's the final version. Well, besides, final. There's Dread Queen and Dread King, I think, but those aren't in this game. This is getting an A tier just because it's an actual fight that can be lengthy instead of being abused. I think the fire with these two are really cool looking, and it switches up the normal fight you're used to, where it's just flying, does the same 3 attacks, and then like runs away. This one you have to fight in one area. Doesn't fly away ever, or as far as I've seen, it doesn't fly away ever. And it's an actual like semi-hard fight for once. So yeah, A tier. Same reasons, A tier for all the other things I listed for Gold Raytheon, as for Silver Rathalos. They go hand in hand. There's that one fight, the Hymn of Sun and Moon, I think. You fight both these together, and I'm pretty sure if the two of them have the same fire in one area, it does like extra damage or something. I thought that was unique. It's kind of like Lunastra and the Teostra, where it's like the male and female part, they're together, they do more damage. So yeah, these two get A tiers. Rajang, I'm gonna give a B tier. I know a lot of people like Rajang, but I'm not one of those people. I think the fight's kind of, like, you're fighting King Kong, it's cool, but I don't know. It is an aggressive fight, but not in the way I enjoy. I like Tigrex aggressive, and Barioth aggressive, and Odogaron aggressive. Rajang is kind of just more like, fuck you, I'm Rajang. Which I guess is why people like him, but that's not why I like him. Stygian Zinogre, S tier. Basically Zinogre, but Dragon Element. To me, if you throw a Dragon Element on anything, it automatically becomes cooler. Unless you're talking about like some lame monster. Like if they were like, oh, Lavisios, but Dragon Element, I'd be like, no, that's still fucking trash. So yeah, same reasons as Zinogre. It's cool. It's, you know, fun fight. Now it's got Dragon Element damage. And the weapons look super dope. Like the longsword, when you have it at red and spirit gauge, it glows red like a fucking lightsaber. It's amazing. Safijiva I like better than Xenojiva. So if I gave Xenojiva a C tier, I'm going to give this one an A tier. Just because I really think they learned their lessons with the siege fights in Cool Tear-Off. And with the fight in Xenojiva. This fight is actually really cool. This fight is probably my favorite siege fight in this game. Which is not saying much, because I think there's only two. But yeah. The armor looks cool too, the weapons are dope. The weapons were meta for a long time. They still might be, actually. But yeah. So if I gave Xeno a C tier, I'm going to give this an A tier. Fierce Rajang, still getting a B tier, and just because it's the same reasons I listed for regular Rajang. Yeah, this one's just constantly in a state of anger. Yeah, moving on. Raging Brachydios. I gave Brachydios an A for a reason, because Raging Brachydios deserves an S tier. It's a great variant monster. The concept of when you get it low, that you can't run away because it slams its fist in the floor and creates a lava barrier around everything. So you can't come out, but people can come in and join. The only way you leave is if you cart. That's a dope concept. This guy's even more aggressive than Brachydios. This guy has even more explosive capabilities. All in all, this is how you do a monster upgrade correctly. Or I guess not upgrade, but subspecies. Frostfang Barioth. I'm actually going to give this an A tier. Just because, like I said in the previous monster, there's a way to do monster subspecies correctly. And I don't think this was it for Barioth. The Frostfang Barioth is kind of more of an annoyance than it is like a cool fight. As the freeze breath that like stops you, and then it just comes and slams down, and you're basically one shot if you're doing the tempered quest. It kind of reminds me of Sub-Zero in Mortal Kombat. The only reason people play Sub-Zero is because they can't hit a target that isn't moving, so they have to use cheap tactics. And yeah, maybe that's why, but yeah, A tier instead of S tier. Elatrion. Like I said earlier, Elatrion is my favorite Elder Dragon ever. This one gets an S tier. Not only because it's my favorite, but because in this game, it actually mastered all the elements. In Tri, it only had 4 elements mastered. It did not know water. This is basically the avatar of fucking Elder Dragons. This thing is insanely cool. So yeah, not much more to say about this. But yeah, it's dope. And Darklaw Demise is one of my favorite designs of a longsword ever. All the monster weapons from Elatron are actually really cool. Like Black Harvest. Whew. Love them. My favorite fight. Fatalis. So I was never one of those OG Monster Hunter players who fought Fatalis. I know there's Crimson Fatalis, there's White Fatalis, there's regular Fatalis. But I don't know, this one was cool, but I don't know if it's sacrilegious to say that I like Elatron more than Fatalis. Fatalis is really difficult. Which I know he's supposed to be because he's like the OG Black Dragon that's supposed to be like the ruler of everything. I do think the lore for this guy is cool because the lore is like if you wear its armor, it slowly envelops you and makes you become Fatalis because Fatalis can never be killed. So I think that's dope. I'm also going to give this an S tier just because the fight is difficult. It's rewarding to finish. There are some things I don't like about the fight where it's like you have to focus the what is it, his chest, I think, to weaken the flames. And even if you weaken the flames, I feel like it doesn't really do a whole lot. But yeah, I mean it's still a cool fight. I'm not at the level good at the fight as I should be after 11 fights. But yeah, that's just a personal thing. Behemoth. I thought this was one of the cool crossovers they did. This was really difficult. I remember playing this on PS4 when I played on PS4. I was only able to beat it, I think, 4 times, and I'm missing one part for the Final Fantasy armor. But I don't play on PS4 anymore, so I'm never gonna get it. This is a cool fight. This is a cool crossover. This is a great crossover fight. I realize now that I'm at the bottom of the list and I don't have 2 monsters in this game. The other crossover they did, which is the Witcher one, because I didn't do the Witcher quest on this character. But the 2 I'm missing are Leshen and Ancient Leshen. I think those are... actually, hold on. Behemoth gets an A tier, just because... It's a cool crossover, but, like... I wish it did more for Master Rank. Like, they should have brought it back and had a reiteration for Master Rank. That's just a nitpick with this specific game and, like, the fight in the game. But yeah, A tier. If they did something with the Master Rank for Behemoth, I would have put it at S tier. But because it's solely just base world, it's getting an A tier. Anyway, like I was saying, Leshen and Ancient Leshen. I'm going to give C tiers because I hated those fucking fights. The fact that you had to go around playing as Geralt and fight this Leshen that does insane damage, has crows, has CC and stuns. Fucking annoying. And then on top of that, you have to do it over again with a squad for Ancient Leshen. Even more annoying. One thing I hate about in this game is relying on randoms. I'll tell you one time. I beat Iceborne on PC super early, right? I beat it in like a day. I got the investigation for Zenogre that had like 3 gold and 2 silver rewards. And because I'm nice, I was like, alright, I'll let random people join. This person joined. Fainted 4 of the 5 times on the quest. I went to go kick him. Then I fainted because I went to go kick him. And I was like, that's karma, but still, this person should not have joined if they were going to die 4 out of the 5 fucking times on the quest. That's my experience with Ancient Leshen. I just couldn't rely on randoms, and I couldn't ever do it, so I never got the gear for Ciri on PS4. On PC I did, but on PS4, never. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's because I have PTSD, but, you know, whatever. So yeah, that's the tier list for all the Monster Hunter World and Iceborne monsters. I'll probably do one of these for Generations Ultimate, because that has slightly different monsters and older monsters and stuff I didn't fight before. But yeah, let me know how many of you are seeing the Monster Hunter movie. And yeah, I know it's gonna be trash, but I'm gonna watch it anyway. So yeah, see you guys soon. It's Trevor from SPH signing off.